All right, I'm going to go to play. When we get to song samples, I'll have to. Okay, here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, back again for Blown Speakers. This is episode 10. Presenters, Dave and I, and we are honored to have an extra special guest, Mr. Cameron Eels, here with us to discuss. It could be, I want to, why don't I just start? Arguably the greatest album of our generation. It's a big favorite. It's a big favorite of mine. So I know that gets those kind of statements are silly, but this is an excellent album.
Go home.
So yeah, we're going to talk about Yo La Tengo's "I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One." All right, let's get to the facts. Oh, actually, before we get to the fact sheet, let's give you a little backstory here on your presenters. Let's see, and can I move this? I'm going to move. Open that up. Oh, all three, and I'm going to move that over here. All right. So an introduction. Club Quattro Shibuya, a live house, a club that hosts live music, is where I met our guest, Cameron Eels, outside a Yo La Tengo show, October of 2000.
Yeah, neither of us had tickets.
Yeah. You had made a sign, Cameron.
Yeah, because and this is something that I would normally never do, but yeah, the gig was sold out. I didn't have tickets, and in some, I don't know, kind of moment of like optimistic madness, I decided to just kind of go down there anyway, hoping that, I don't know, something would happen. And it did, because there are a couple of people outside the gig who had signs in English and Japanese saying, "Yo La Tengo, I will happily buy any spare tickets you happen to have." And I was like, okay, all right, I'll see if this works. So yeah, and then a little while later, Greg came along in the exact same position, and then before too long, we were all standing outside Club Quattro, holding handwritten signs saying, "Yo La Tengo, I will buy your spare ticket." And it seemed like I don't know, a fool's errand,
Right. Yeah.
But Greg was absolutely lovely. And as it turned out, as it got closer and closer to the gig, sure enough, people started turning up who, I guess, mates couldn't make it at the last minute. And they were like, "Yeah, we've got like a spare ticket. Do you want it?" And we were like, yes, we would.
and I don't think, I think you're giving me too much credit. I don't think I ever actually made a sign. I think I just kind of helped you hold yours, maybe. But yeah, what great luck. We got to meet each other, become friends, and we got into the show.
Yeah.
And I think, Dave, that this show you told me about sometime that summer. We were at Club Quattro or maybe the Liquid Room in Shinjuku, and you had found a flyer of upcoming shows, and you said, "Oh," you knew, I was a big Yo La Tengo fan, so I remember you coming up with the flyer, and you're like, "Guess who's coming?" And I was still, that was my first year in Tokyo, so you never, the first band I saw in Tokyo was Stereo Lab, so I guess that kind of set the stage, or that, I guess more, more indie rock bands, or I guess somewhat more underground bands, do come to Tokyo. It's not all, you know, huge rock bands. Um,
No, no.
but I think I was probably still surprised that Yo La Tango were making the trip.
Because you remember when we first, because before I came to Japan, I was using the internet regularly in America, right? So I was really surprised when I came here and like the guest house I was in, like didn't have an internet hookup and you weren't really allowed to use the computers at work. Like my first couple of years in Japan, I didn't use the internet, right? So that's when you talked about the reason you knew about this concert is because I showed you the flyer. Like, yeah, that's kind of how I think it was because I
Yeah.
remember not having access to the internet the first couple of years and being very surprised by that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a good point. I mean, I remember the big thing about coming to Japan, and I came in January 2000. You guys were already here. Um, but shortly after arriving, getting a cell phone, probably a flip phone, but I never had a cell phone in the United States. I guess some people had Blackberries, and that certainly wasn't my thing, or, you know, I wasn't like a financial advisor. Um, so I kind of felt like James Bond just to have a cell phone. And like, I remember like you'd go somewhere, like Dave, you taking me to meet other people, or, you know, you're going to Shibuya and like, oh, don't worry. You know, we can just call them when we get there. Like, oh my God. I'm like, wow. So, but those phones didn't have, you know, they weren't, you couldn't get online, because I remember actually my first year buying a little phone, and then I bought like this little keyboard that I would plug into my phone that would give me some online access. So yeah, there was different times.
And we used to get concert news from Tokyo Classified, right?
Oh yeah, yeah,
It became Metropolis. Yeah. So
yeah.
hmm.
Um, so this is where Cameron and I saw Yo La Tango in October. So they were touring. I guess you could say they were touring for this album. For I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One. It was before, and then Nothing Turned Itself Inside Out came out. So, you know, maybe this was the Asian branch of that tour. And then Dave, you and I, Cameron, I don't know if you came with us. We saw Yo La Tango in, was it 2004 or 2005?
I think it was 2005 because it was just before you moved back to the States.
Yeah. And,
So,
but also at Club Quattro.
yeah. Yeah.
That was a great venue. We also, I mean, we saw Guided by Voices there.
Yeah.
Oh, Cameron, we saw, I think you took me to go see Mono there.
Yeah. I saw Mono play there a few times actually. There was the Drag City night.
Oh, hey Cameron, I was at that with Smog and Plush and Royal Trucks.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. Wow. See, I didn't know you at that time though, but yeah, I was there.
Yeah,
I was there solo. It was before I really had friends. It was one of the first shows I went to.
Same, I was flying solo. In retrospect, I really should have picked up that Plush album because it's out of print now. Really hard to find a copy.
I have the CD. You mean the More You Becomes You?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's good. It's a. And this next one was really good too. Fed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we saw that. I saw it. Now, did you see Plush again later in Tokyo, Cameron?
No, it was only just that once.
Because Greg and I did.
Yeah.
So I saw Plush twice.
Yeah, we talked to him. Was it Liam Hayes? That's Where did we see him, Dave? It was a cool little venue too.
It's called K or CAY. So I think people pronounced it differently. Yeah. Well, how did you pronounce it, Cameron? Did you?
In my head, I always kind of pronounced it like Kai.
Kai. Maybe that's what it was. It was called CAY. Yeah. I went to a couple shows there, but
Yeah.
Let's see. Also at Club Quattro, I saw Olivia Tremor Control,
Oh.
and of course we saw Daniel Johnston.
Oh
And
yeah,
John
right.
Johnson. Yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting some. I feel like I went there a lot. I think it's still there.
Melt Banana, I think I saw there. Japanese kind of noisy rock band, but yeah, great venue. All right, okay, so let's get into the album at hand. So my fact sheet, the album was recorded, and I got a reference. My source, beyond Wikipedia, I've expanded my resources for this episode. Beyond Wikipedia and the internet, Big Day Coming, Yo La Tengo and the Rise of Indie Rock by Jesse Jarnow, who also is a DJ at WFMU. So yeah, a lot of information on Yo La Tengo in here. Not a lot of drama or, scintillating pieces of gossip, but I thought a lot of good information. So according to this book right here, recorded in Nashville in 1996. And you guys mentioned it wasn't released until 1997.
Yeah.
Produced by Roger Mutino. What do you think, guys?
Mutino.
I always kind of want to go with like a French pronunciation. Like in my head, I'm always like Montenot.
Mutino. He looks a little. Here he is. Here he looks a little like Stuart Copeland from The Police.
Totally.
He does. He totally does.
And Dave, let me move this pen. Where are we going to move it? Sorry, Ira, we're going to move it over Ira's face here. I don't know if it's the three of us.
I don't see your cursor, Craig.
Oh.
Yeah.
Here, how about here?
Hmm.
Well, I'm moving the picture of us three. Is that in the Zoom picture? That's not in the screen?
Are you seeing movement, Cameron? I'm not seeing.
No, but then again, the way things are positioned for me is kind of like the three of us are over on that side. That didn't really help, does it? Sorry.
No. Oh, well, we'll go with it. So, third point, bullet point, they stayed at Kurt Wagner and wife Mary's house. And you guys can see the image down here. Dave, I remember you introducing me to Lamb Chop. Kurt Wagner is the creative force behind Lamb Chop.
I believe it's pronounced Wagner.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Sorry, I'm just being a dick.
No. Go ahead. Kurt Wagner and wife Mary. So Yo La Tengo stayed with the Wagners. Who's the German composer? What's is that Friedrich Wagner?
Sounds
Wagner.
Yeah.
Wagner von Wagner.
But no relation with those ultra nationalistic German anthems. So Yo La Tengo. Whoa, we got to go back. Sorry, guys. Stayed with Kurt Wagner, his wife Mary, at their house, and this is they ate at Prince's Hot Chicken Shack. Here is the owner, Andre Prince Jeffries, and this is going to factor heavily in the titles of the album. All right. Case in point, the first song on the album, Return to Hot Chicken, which I believe is a nod to Prince's Hot Chicken. Also, they recorded in Nashville the two albums prior, Painful and Electro Pura, with Roger Montagu. And on Electro Pura, there are two songs that reference Hot Chicken. Flying Lesson, Hot Chicken #1, and Don't Say a Word, Hot Chicken #2. So, with the first track on the album, we have Return to Hot Chicken. I I wanted to play some of this song. I'm wondering if the audio is going on. So
I see your cursor now, Greg, by the way.
maybe when guys, I think I'm going to stop how do I stop the recording now?
Pause.
Up. What did I do?
Yeah, just the same place you press the record button. There's a
Oh,
pause.
there it is. Okay, and we are back. Okay, so we're going to hear the opening track from I Can Hear the Heart Beating as One, a nod to Nashville Hot Chicken, Return to Hot Chicken. All right, I'm going to pause it there. I just, anytime I hear that song, I hear that instrumental, I love it. And I think it's just a great way. It may sound a little corny, but it's just like a world I want to step into. It's so inviting, and I think and for me it was this. I had heard Genius plus Love equals Yo La Tango, the compilation, but this was the first proper album I'd heard, and it's just like a world I want to step into.
Yeah, that opening track really just sets the scene.
Yeah.
And something that I find about the album as a whole, and that's something that is established with that opening track, is just how warm it is. I mean, one of the things that I love about the album is the way that it skips across so many different styles, but nonetheless, underneath there's a real sense of warmth to a lot of the album, to almost all of the tracks. And that's something that is really, like you said, it's invitational, it's warm, it's inviting. It's like with a number of really amazing albums, that there's a feeling that all the songs are from the same cloth, and it's a sense that it's the kind of world that, like you said, you want to step into and live in for that period of time that you've got it on. And I think that warmth is established from the very beginning.
Yeah. And pardon my dog Ruby not being so inviting for the people walking by. Yeah,
they have an interesting way of opening things in general. I mean, so this is the opening track on the album, but they often will start concerts on kind of a low note like that too, and kind of just you just kind of fade into it being in a concert, and even how they start some of their songs, I think, is like that too. Like they just have an interesting way of starting things that
yeah
I think it's cool.
Ease your way in, and I guess too probably that's maybe them not wanting to do things in a typical way. Okay, let's go to I'm going to go back to play, and then let's go to our next one. We heard that. Okay, Moby Octopad. Now, I've got a picture of the cover for the Who Sell Out. Pete Townsend, Roger Daltrey. So you may be wondering about that. I'm going to play a bit of the track, though. Oh, and I'm going to have to do I have two. Yeah, I do. I got to see both of them here. Okay, here's the track. And here, yeah, talk about different style, like much more full on here with the bass and the drums really up in the mix. But then that Iris guitar comes in with that feedback. There's that guitar. So those harmonies kind of bounce that out. And that guitar comes in again. I think that's James McNew in the background. Now, one of the first times I was playing that, playing the CD was when I was working at the time. Dave, I told you about P22 Type Foundry, and a guy I worked with there. He's technically my supervisor, an accomplished musician in his own right. When I was first playing this, he was like, "Oh, they're just ripping off the Who." And then he brought in on cassette a tape version of the Who Sellout, the first track, Armenia City in the Sky. So I want you guys to give a listen to it, especially for that guitar that comes in. And we'll see what you think.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, good. And that little bit there actually was sampled by Tortoise on one of the first Tortoise records. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, here.
Saturday, Sunday. If you're troubled and you can't relax, close your eyes. Think on this. If the rumors.
At the time, when my esteemed supervisor brought it up and he brought in the Who, I was like, oh, wow, that does sound a lot like it. And I don't know if it's a direct influence, but I think it's, late 60s British invasion, rock and roll, You'll Let Tango Will Draw On. But, I think their song is entirely a different thing. And it shows the way they can, integrate influences and make something of their own. What do you think, guys?
I think it's funny that he was that compelled to bring in the tape and play it for you. I don't hear it that clearly.
Yeah.
I don't know about Cameron.
It could have been more his perspective, and
Yeah.
But it is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And let's go a little deeper here, because here you have, and this is a great album, The Who Sell Out, and and it's the fact they were trying to make songs, like I guess they were trying to craft songs as jingles to sell the companies. Like they did one for like Premier Drums and Jaguar, and I don't think they actually, the companies were interested, and just totally flying in the face of the idea of like, not selling out. But here we have
Oh,
Georgia Hubley, and this was from, let's see here. Oh, did I just know where it go? It just went away. Oh, where'd she go? Let's see, edit, undo, resize. 1 second, got undo, move, edit mask. Ah, she's back. Okay. So there was, I think I got this picture from the Yo La Tengo website, and there is an article about how they had been asked by Coca-Cola to do a song, or they wanted to use one of their songs for a commercial. And Yo La Tango thought about it, and they said, no, you can't use one of our songs, but we will compose new music, new instrumental, which you could use for the commercial. And it was featured, he talked about it here in an interview from Pondo website. Don't license songs for commercials, write new ones. So I'm just going to read here. Yo La Tango's songs have appeared in ads for Coca-Cola, Starbucks, and even NASCAR. But Kaplan doesn't consider it selling out because instead of letting companies use existing songs, which were written for fans, not brands, they offered to write new songs specifically for the commercials. This also allows the band to be a bit more permissive when it comes to what brands they work with. On NASCAR, he says, it's not a commercial for napalm. We all enjoy barbecue. We all enjoy NASCAR, potentially. So I had to tie that in there. So yeah, maybe the Who was an influence, and certainly with the graphic. And there was one more. I found this is from Done Waiting. I think this guy's was out of Columbus, Dave. And he had some interesting things to say on here too. And this was taken from the Yo La Tango. They asked, so yeah, Coca-Cola, and it was for the 1996 Olympics. Coke asked Yo La Tango to write a song for them. They asked to license one of our songs. Don't bother writing to ask which one. We won't answer. And if we do answer, we will lie. As we have in so many other instances, we look to the career of Barry Manilow for guidance. Did Barry get to the top by licensing Mandy? He did not. Instead, he composed Just Like a Good Neighbor, State Farm is There. No, Mr. Coca-Cola, we replied, we will not license one of our songs for your commercial, but instead we will write you your very own jingle. Much to our surprise, they said yes.
Huh.
Unlike Ween's Pizza Hut song, Yola's Coke commercial is pure instrumental. When I clicked on the MP3, it's no longer available on their website. But I thought that was all interesting bits of information. So I like that, and not doing things in a typical way, and just funny. I don't know if Barry Manilow really did a State Farm jingle, but I'd like to think he did. But that takes us a bit away from the album. Any comments on licensing songs, commercialism, selling out?
Go for it, Cameron.
It wasn't really something I was thinking about, really.
Baked beans?
I guess I'd say I'm kind of surprised that Coca-Cola was cool enough to want a Yo La Tango song in 1996.
Yeah.
That's pretty finger on the pulse, really.
Yeah, definitely hip for. Yeah.
I'm down to get your grilled cheese, honey.
I guess they have a lot of people working for them.
I don't know that Ween. I was a bit of a Ween fan back then. I don't know that Ween Pizza Hut song. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Um, in this song, I love that the piano or the keyboard that kicks in at about the 3-minute mark with the
Yeah. Do you want to get to that? I can.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I always kind of look forward to that. It's
Let me see. Let's see. Sorry. Let me see if I do this manually. I love the percussion in the background too. Those maracas, the harmonies between Georgia Hubley and James McNew and Ira are just awesome. Let me.
it was like their 14th bassist or something like that. Like they finally found a guy they connected with.
I think it's coming up here, Dave. It all works so well together. I don't know. I'm obviously an unabashed fan. Would you say it's a little atonal, the piano? You know, it's a little, it's quirky and it's, you know, maybe a little out of step, but it just works so well with everything that's going on.
Something about that piano. It sounds childish to me in a way.
Yeah,
Like it
yeah,
sounds
like a kid going to a piano and dun dun dun.
Yeah, it sounds like a kid doing that, but it also sounds totally precise.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I think's interesting about it. Yeah, it's like some little like kid genius, like 2-year-old banging on a piano.
Yeah,
that somehow sounds perfect or something.
Yeah, I think it does sound perfect. Yeah, and not something a typical band, well, especially at the time, 1996, is going to do, you know.
Mm.
So not your typical rock and roll band. Speaking of not your typical rock and roll band, brings us to the next track, Sugar Cube. We could spend a whole episode on the video, the Sugar Cube video. I don't think we went here, and I'm going to view. Let's hide my inspector here.
So Cameron, I'm sure you've seen the video over the years, right?
Oh yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's great. I mean, it's a brilliant video. It's hilarious, and at the same time, I also think it's hilarious that Yola Tengo essentially used the video to sabotage themselves.
Mhm.
For whole sections of the video, you don't even hear the song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sketch comedy that is happening. It's a brilliant video. As a music video, it actually sabotages itself.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
and really showcases. And these guys, I didn't know until I think my wife Heather told me, I don't know, 10 years ago, that, you know, Bob Odenkirk, this was long before Better Call Saul. I wasn't hip to Mr. Show, but Bob Odenkirk, David Cross, the creators of Mr. Show, and cast member John Ennis feature heavily in the video. You know, it must have had a hand in creating the video. And it's still here. And maybe it was, well, here. So, and I think it was before, was the movie with Jack Black, School of Rock.
School of Rock.
So I think it was before School of Rock. Kind of a not really similar premise, but it's like they have to go to school to learn how to be rockers, you know, especially like hard rockers. And so, you know, and Ira gets hit with an eraser by David Cross because he has a picture of Lou Reed.
Is one of the lines something like your third album must be double live?
Yeah.
I think it's the fog hat rule.
Ah, nice.
And here we have, this is, can you see, here's Bob Odenkirk as, and he's dressed, he's one of the presenters, and he, you know, and his persona is kind of like a professor. And he's wearing this leather harness he takes off and puts on the wooden chair, and he's got the Kiss makeup on and the studded bracelet. But in this scene, they're outside all sitting like cross-legged on the grass, and he's reciting the words from the Rush. What is the Closer to the Heart?
Okay.
Oh, it's great.
Something
Should
about
we watch
where the somethings dwell or something.
where the kings
Harvid's, what's Harvid? Where the Harvard?
or Farewell to the Kings or something, I think is the album. But the song is Closer to the Heart. It's hilarious. Should we watch the beginning? Or I don't have it queued up.
All right.
What do you guys? Or should we keep going? I'm just throwing it out there, guys. This is.
Or would talk about the song or whatever.
I mean, it's a great song as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I shouldn't get. I guess my. Well, yeah, let's play a little. Let's play a little of this song.
Everyone from me, whatever you want, I'll do. Try to squeeze a drop of fun from the sugar cube. more right there. Trying to be less uptight. Trying to be more aware.
And right there, like, who needs Buddhism when you have Yola Tengo? But try to be more aware. Try to be more right there. Try to be less uptight. You know, live in the here and now. And the guitar is just so, you know, it's fucking awesome. You know, I love it.
It's just a great cracking pop tune.
Yeah. And it, you know, I mentioned School of Rock before. When he comes to the guitar solo, you know, Jack Black talks about face melter. It's a total face melt. Like, it's, you know, it's great. Yeah, and the imagery, like a drop of blood on a sugar cube. It's the angst, the struggle, the sacrifice in a relationship.
I like the drums at the beginning too. Like,
Yeah.
It's again the awesome intro to this song. You know, like just those great drums. The guitar reminds me of Dinosaur Jr. a bit. Would you say at the beginning there? And yeah, lyrically, like, well, what you were just saying, try to be more uptight, try to be more. It reminded me of, or less uptight, more. It reminded me of just when I used to teach kids. You know, like you. You kind of can't do it perfectly, you know, because kids are out of control, right? And and you always get feedback from parents or your bosses, or, you know, like, just, you know, how you could be better at doing it. And I don't know, this song used to play in my head at that time sometimes. It's like trying to, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Trying to draw a drop of blood from a sugar cube or whatever. Like, I'm doing the best I can here, you know, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that, yeah. Let's see. Guys, I'm thinking of something here. How do I get stop more?
So in the video, you get the
resume. Okay, we're recording. All right, we're going to watch some of the Sugar Cube video, which just went away. Okay, so you guys can see that okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Does everyone remember the Fog Hat rule? Your fourth album should be double live. Trash this room. Ira, get down. Trying to be more right there. Trying to be less uptight. Trying to be more aware. Everyone from me. What I want to do for you. Sweeter than a drop of blood on a sugar cube.
Ah, the Fog Hat rule. And the it's good. Yeah, I think we could do a full episode just on that video. The Lou Reed picture. And then, do you see the note the girl passes to James McNew if he's into trip hop?
Yes, no, maybe.
All right, back to the album, and excuse our dog here.
I wish that that clip on YouTube, right? It's not very high, you know, it's kind of low res, right? So I was thinking of, I teach an indie rock class, and I was thinking of showing that to students. I'm like, it's just well, for one thing, I think it'd be hard I don't think they'd get the humor, you know, but what was kind of the deal breaker was how low res it is. I'm like, I don't think I could show it, you know, so unfortunately, so I hope they have a better version of it up someday on YouTube.
Yeah, I think the message comes through, but yeah, that humor, I mean, the subtleties, the nuances of the humor would be would be tough to
Yeah. It would take like
translate.
multiple classes just to explain certain jokes.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, to the uninitiated, you know.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. He's at one point, David Cross has a Jefferson Airplane's surrealistic pillow, and then a Black Flag
Black
record.
flag.
Drops the Black Flag. But I would see Jefferson Airplane, and especially that album being an influence though on Yo La Tengo. Ira's talked a fair bit about being into the Grateful Dead when he was a teenager. The first concert he went to see was Country Joe and the Fish at the Fillmore East when he was, I think, 11 or something. His father took him. But I think that's, them not being a typical band, one of the first to kind of meld those different influences from the, kind of psychedelic era with the punk rock or hardcore era.
It's pretty
So I
great.
don't think it needs to be an either or situation.
It's pretty great when he says, "Ira, get down from there."
This is going nowhere. Next track, Damage. I love this song too. How about just the beginning? I'll try not to play the whole thing, but let's hear the beginning here.
I used to think about you all the time. I would think about you all the time. Now it just feels weird. There you are.
Yeah, it's just a really hypnotic groove. I guess it seems that the big theme, overarching theme, is relationships. I used to think about you all the time. Used to think about you all the time. What is it now? I look and it just seems weird. You're just there. Then the I guess the initial bloom of a relationship or something has faded. But yeah, I think it could, any kind of experience you have in life where you kind of settle into a routine and certain spark is, or a certain, I don't know, thrill is fading. But I think like the first track too, though, for me, you talk about warmth, Cameron. Like it's very overall warm feeling, just a very inviting kind of soundscape.
Yeah. I mean, I'm probably going to use the word warm or warmth 85 times here, but I mean, this track in particular, which it's one of my favorites on the album. I really, really love it, and I love the texture of the song, and I just love the warmth. It's just so, just that kind of drony sound is, you know, as you said, it's hypnotic. It's something that you kind of really fall into, and it's just such a deeply textured track. It's kind of like a warm blanket that you kind of want to, you know, wrap yourself up in. And then kind of the real, like talking about relationships, the real sting to it, you know, when you hit that line, the damage is done. So you've got this incredibly warm, almost comforting sound, but at the same time, you know, really he's kind of, you know, there's something kind of really bittersweet and painful there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to think about you all the time. I would think about you all the time. Now it just feels weird that
There you are.
there you are. The damage is done. I feel like a kid again. My eyes are glued to the floor. I hope I mumbled goodbye as you walked out the door. So I hope I mumbled goodbye as you walked out the door. That's a pretty bleak line. Right? Like I don't need, you know, even in his hoping and imagining it, he doesn't really say it, you know, nicely. He would only mumble it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty.
He's not even sure.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, maybe it's too literal interpretation. I don't know, from a fan's perspective, and what I know that Ira, the you know, the main songwriter, and Georgia are, you know, singer and drummer of the band. They're married, so, and have been a couple for a while. So I assume he's writing about her, and they're like, oh well. So it's just, who knows? I mean, could be too literal. But then if he is, it's kind of uplifting that, like, you know, obviously their relationship has stood the test of time. And they you know, he does that show Tuesday nights on WFMU. I remember, Cameron, when we first met and we're talking about Yo La Tango, you told me about Yo La Tango doing fund drives on WFMU. Ira, I think before the pandemic, it started doing a weekly show on WFMU Tuesday nights, which since the pandemic I tend to listen to each week. And George is the producer. It took me a few weeks to get to suss that out. That when he was talking about his producer, he was talking about Georgia. So anyways, it's kind of, I guess, encouraging that if this song is about their relationship, that their relationship has stood the test of time, and, you know, everybody goes through those, you know, difficult moments in a relationship. Because it is pretty, the damage is done, like, you know, and like nothing, we can't go back, you know. Like, that wasn't permanent.
Something we actually didn't say, but yeah, Yo La Tengo, kind of one of those great bands built around a husband and wife core.
Yeah, I should, and let's. I think I better introduce this band. referencing their live.
Yeah, the speedy motorcycle. Hi,
Yeah.
band. Yeah.
Yeah. Daniel, wait. I think I better introduce you to this band. Hi, band. That's great. Oh, that's so great. But yeah, so Georgia Hubley on drums, James McNew, bass player, and Ira Kaplan, guitar. So yeah, Georgia Hubley and Ira Kaplan. I don't know when. At some point, they got married. Certainly before. Geez, I have the book here, but I'm not gonna. Certainly before the creation of this album. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. They found the balance between private life, uh, domesticity, domestic life, and personal life and professional life intertwined. And James, oh, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I want you to show us your drumsticks that you had signed by Georgia
Oh, yeah.
in Tokyo in 2005. I was with you.
She signed both of them. I don't know why. I think
And
I took these are called. Oh wait, I'm pointing it towards my picture. No,
Yeah. Okay,
these are called Rock Knockers Promar, and these are, I guess, because these are bigger ones. These are like almost like what do you call it? Like marching band batons or something. So yeah, she did with marker Georgia Hubley.
Wow.
And on the other, so that was 2005, right? This
Yeah.
one's a bit faded. I think I use these too because I don't play with these really. That one's a little more faded, but yeah, she was, receptive to that request.
Yeah. I remember watching that happen. You asking her to do that.
What was her reaction? Did she seem?
Oh, she seemed fine. Yeah. Because we used to always kind of BS our way backstage at Club Quattro a lot, like GBV and Yola Tango. And I remember my thing, Greg, though, was always just, you just got to go in there, go to the beer cooler, grab a beer, and start drinking it. And once you're standing in there drinking a beer, you look like you're supposed to be there. Right? So this guy clearly must be here. He feels at home enough to take a beer from the fridge. So
did you? I don't think we took that leap of faith though that night. I can't remember how we even got back there. I mean, I think we just walked past.
Yeah.
And I think taking full advantage of white privilege or gaijin privilege, like if you're a foreigner, the Japanese staff just assumed.
Yeah, the Japanese staff just think you work for Yola Tango or Guided by Voices or whoever.
But the one exception where we had entree, like kind of VIP from the inner circle, was when we went to see Sonic Youth, and we were milling, like after the show, we're just kind of walking around, and we saw Mike Watt, and we started talking to him, and he was incredibly cool, down to earth, and extended the invitation for us to go backstage. So props to Mike Watt from the Minutemen, Stooges. But yeah, I think with GBV, did you grab a beer from their cooler?
I think so.
Yeah, and they're not gonna. Bob Pollard isn't gonna tell you no. I don't think.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Cameron? Any backstage escapades?
No, I don't think I ever breached that particular area. Yeah, I never. No, I don't think I ever thought to.
Well, we got to reunite in Japan, back in Tokyo, Yokohama, and we'll make sure to remedy that. Yeah. All right, so let's see. With we're up to Damage, and I'm gonna have to go Talk to Ruby. Deeper into movies, the next track. Another stellar track. I like this picture of the band too. Ira Kaplan almost looks somewhat confrontational in the photo, like he's ready to, I don't know, throw down with another band. Built to spill, perhaps. All right, I'm going. I'm going to go with the sample here. I think about 2 minutes. I'm not currently working on like making a film, but in my mind when I hear this song, I think of like I want to make a movie and I want the climactic scene to have this song, in the background, just our hero, I don't know, like crawling through the dirt, he, she, they fighting their way through a crowd of people, and and against beyond all odds, just rising triumph. Kind of like it does. Speaking of movies, makes me think of like the Graduate. When have you guys both seen the Graduate? When Dustin Hoffman pulls up to the wedding, and stops the wedding and it has a cross, and he's swinging it at the groomsmen, and that kind of just like radical movement and just against all odds triumph. I find it very inspiring.
It's a huge track. It's just enormous. And I mean, live, it's always, whenever they do this one live, it's always a particular highlight because it's just huge and it just builds and it builds and it builds and it builds. But something that I also really like as a kind of tangent is their acoustic version of this, which completely strips it back, and is lovely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's incredible how they can take on just different moods, styles, and do it really well.
What album is that off, Cameron?
They had it kicking around for a while, but they finally recorded it on, and now I'm completely blanking. It was their recent covers one. It was kind of their revisitation of Fake Book. Stuff like that there, maybe? Is that the one?
Yeah, yes, there you go.
And I think it's on that one.
I think you're right. And the lyrics are interesting too. I mean, I recall getting messages from outer space. They spiral out something in the sky. It blows my mind. Um, yeah, it just seems to fit really well.
They mention crashing cars there too, which comes up later in the album on "We're an American Band." There's some kind of reference to a car crash, if I remember correctly.
And I just thank you, Dave, for I pointed out, oh, the lyrics are interesting, and then as we were listening, I'm like, I can't hear what they're saying, but I always love the line about the messages from outer space.
I've been getting messages from outer space. They spiral like a finger in the sky. It blows my mind. Yeah, but verse 1, yeah, every day breaks screech outside my window. Those crashing cars never seem to collide. But later on the album, right, in "We're an American Band," there's mention of a car crash, if I remember correctly.
Do you want to go to that song?
Sure. You know, there's something about deeper into the movies. I hear this echo of "Comfortably Numb" by Pink Floyd somehow. I think it's because that one verse, that one line ends with "da da da eyes," and it makes me think of "out of the corner of my eye."
Okay, yeah. I gotcha.
It's faint, but I feel like it's like this little echo. But I notice it, every time I hear it.
Yeah. Well, maybe so. One of the movies Ira was watching was Pink Floyd's "The Wall," perhaps.
He gets like testy when sometimes in interviews when people try to ask him like, what was his inspiration to do. Like he doesn't like to give backstories a lot. I think it's funny. Like he gets kind of because even he tried with the name of the band and how it was a baseball reference to a Mets player, but then I've seen later interviews where he tries to just kill that. He's like, nah, I said that at the time, but maybe not really. Like he doesn't he prefers things to just be left open. Like he said something like he likes titles that sound like they mean something, but they don't. I like that.
Here, I'm go off on a little tangent here. Hold on, guys. All right, so this, the album before I Can Hear the Heart Beating was Electro Pura, also recorded in Nashville with Mr. Roger M. Can't pronounce that. But Dave, so they have little captions under all the song titles.
Yeah.
And oh man, the eyesight is fading. So, for example, sound, and I guess they took them from a book on the Blues Project, a 60s kind of folk rock band. They got kind of psychedelic. But so these snippets have no reference to the song. So that's kind of, I think, touches on what you're saying, Dave. Like Flying Lesson, Hot Chicken #1, sound is music and quick lights, and the people who make our sound their own, that's when we're really turned on. Paul is dead, waiting for a break. Where's the one? Attack on Love, one of my favorite instruments, the electronic flute. So I think just maybe this isn't the best example, but just liking the sound of something or something that evokes something, but it doesn't have to have a literal connection. Something I found out, and Electro Pura was the name of a outdated pop. And when they were in Nashville, they visited, there used to be a museum of beverage containers or something. Like a guy started it out of his house. A guy collected old soda pop cans and bottles, and it became a museum. And that's where they found the old bottle of, I'd say, pop, others may say soda pop, Electro Pura, and they got the title.
Hmm. Nice.
The museum is no longer functioning. But let's go to an American band.
Yeah, the lyrics I was referring to, driving in south, the motor's on fire. Let's put it out before the flames go higher. And then at the end of the song, driving, not again, an 8-car crash. We'll turn to look unless we're going too fast. But the other lyrics are like references, right, to like really kind of lowbrow kind of pop, like they reference the movie called Big Bully, which stars Tom Arnold and Rick Moranis. So I don't know what they're getting at, but they say Monday matinee, Big Bully, or White Squall. So hard to choose. Wish we could see them all. Right, and then they say something about Hootie and the Blowfish. So it's this weird.
Really?
They're making their. I guess they're talking about really kind of crappy movies and crappy
kind
music,
of
and then there's a
dig
car
on
crash.
mainstream American culture.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend a lot of time on research, but my internet search somewhat rushed this afternoon. I couldn't come up with any connection between Yo La Tengo and Grand Funk Railroad, who, you know, they take this title from. It's obviously not the same song, and this was also an album title for Grand Funk. So I don't know, but here's Grand Funk, and let's hear We're an American Band. Much ambient music. I think before hearing the record, I'd certainly seen Train Spotting, and I remember from Train Spotting, I was introduced to Brian Eno in Deep Blue Day, and the scene where Ewan McGregor goes into the toilet, and that beautiful song, Brian Eno and Daniel Lanois from, I think it's called Apollo 12. And I think after seeing the movie, then I got Music for Airports from Brian Eno. I think it was so maybe I heard that, maybe I hadn't, but Green Arrow, there may come a time in my life I feel, anti-anxiety medications may be needed, but for now, songs like this tend to, help in that regard, keep me cool, or, I don't know, try and keep stress and anxiety at bay.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I think I got to listen to that more before bedtime sometimes, and for the kids, they inevitably get wound up and get energy before bed. But yeah, with the environmental sounds,
Crickets,
and,
kind of.
yeah, just so lovely, and just immediately relaxes me. And I don't, I guess Brian Eno with ambient music, but I don't know any, bands at the time, indie rock band. I mean, there must have been some who are kind of using, doing that, that kind of ambient instrumental and using environmental sounds like that.
Beautiful photo there too.
Yeah, I just found that. You know what I wanted? I was again walking the dog. I think before Spec Bebop. Well, most obviously before Spec Bebop. I don't know if it was the same night, Dave, or a different night. But I was taking the dog, and it was dusk, and the street lights were on. There was still some light in the sky, and it was just perfect backdrop for walking. And I didn't have my phone, I don't think. And then I took a picture for my driveway a couple of nights later, and I was like, nah. I was good. I was looking at my phone today, like, oh, I got to send that, and I'll put it in the PowerPoint, but it wasn't good. So I just found this at the last minute. But yeah, that is. I think it's a nice, perfect accompaniment to the track.
Can we pause it for a bit, Greg?
Yeah. Let me
just
all right, and we are back.
Oh.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So Cameron wanted to highlight Autumn Sweater, which I believe is
a couple of tracks, but definitely Autumn Sweater. I mean, it's an album full of amazing tracks. Autumn Sweater again. I mean, it's a bit of a fan favorite. It's a cracking tune. Again, for this album, it kind of really goes back to that feeling of warmth and comfort. I mean, it's even built into the track title. It's an autumn sweater. Of course, the lyrics are a little more troubled than that, but that's kind of one of the really great things, that you have this warm, enveloping kind of sound, but actually exploring something a little more kind of tricky. But yeah, I mean, Autumn, it's just such a warm, wonderful song. It's great. And actually, I also did want to give a shout out to the very ending, My Little Corner of the World, which is just this incredibly sweet kind of, goodbye. But again, kind of, I think at the very beginning, you mentioned about it being, the album being invitational. There's an invitation there, and that's kind of then made explicit in, at the very ending of, to join them in their little corner of the world. And it's beautiful.
All right, well, let's hear Autumn Sweater first.
Heard the knock on the door. I couldn't catch my call this art. We can slip away, but wouldn't that be better? Me with nothing to say, and you in your autumn sweater. Try my best to hide in the crowded room, scared impossible. I wait for you almost patiently. We can slip away. Wouldn't that be better? Me with nothing to say. You in your autumn sweater. So I look for your eyes and the waves that light. Pour right out of them. I'll try always, but it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time if I can't smile easily. I get my naked, get my naked. We can slip away. Wouldn't that be better? Me with nothing to say. You in your autumn sweater. We can slip away. Wouldn't that be better? Me with nothing to say. You in your autumn sweater.
Oh,
You got to just love the wholesomeness of, calling a rock song "Autumn Sweater." I mean, that would disgust his teachers at the Rock Academy or wherever.
Listening. Well, do you want to go ahead, Cameron?
Oh, the please.
Okay. Listening to, I guess, listening and talking about it. This song, along with "Damage," it's kind of striking me how kind of dire, Ira sounds. Really focusing on the lyrics, and it's a waste of time if I can't smile easily, like in the beginning, while acknowledging all the light that's flowing out of her eyes. That same spark, that same thrill isn't there. How can he look into her eyes again? it's pretty intense, pretty, I mean, emotion.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wanting to slip away, and that'll, if they have some time together, that will help, I guess. Yeah. So definitely addressing, some difficult moments in relationships.
It doesn't strike you like that though. The first few times you hear it, it
No.
just sounds like a love song, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. So there was a comment that this song was put on a lot of mixtapes or mixed CDs, back then, right? People made for each other, right? You make a mixed CD for your girlfriend or whatever.
Oh.
Yeah, because it sounds so kind of comfortable.
Yeah. And I may still have it. Kevin Shields from My Bloody Valentine remixed
Oh wow.
Autumn Sweater.
Wow.
I think I have it.
I can't even imagine what that would sound like.
It's not a noise fest, but it's different. And then I'm pretty sure I remember reading an interview where Ira said that they try and do the live version more like his remix. At least.
Oh really?
He said this maybe 15 years ago. But I think that's interesting.
Well, Greg, I wanted to mention Stockholm Syndrome, right? That so this is James McNew's first time on lead vocals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a Neil Youngish type song, but like when you hear this, you're like, wow, how is this his first time on lead vocals? I love his voice.
Oh yeah.
Why don't you answer? What's the matter with me? Is it so hard to be free and easy? To disappear completely, hardly as long as glad. Your heart is broken and the doors are open as you're hoping to be. There's brighter places to see. Hands need warning early in the morning, hardly as long as surprise. No, don't warn me, I know it's wrong, but I swear it won't take long. And I know you know it makes me sigh. I do believe in love. I swear it won't take long. And I know you know it makes me sigh. I do believe, I do believe. Another season of the same old feelings. Another reason to be tired of thinking us what you make it. 'Cause I'll believe what I want to believe.
Yeah, I remember the first time I heard it, I immediately thought of Neil Young. You know, he had been a staple through high school and college for me. So that high, you know, at times lonesome register, but it was a beautiful song. Yeah. The summer's what you make it.
Yeah, musically, at least, I mean, it doesn't especially make me think of Neil Young, except for that guitar part. But yeah, certainly the vocals. Yeah, and yeah, I love his voice. So I mean,
Yeah.
mm,
You know, when I was putting this PowerPoint together, I wanted to have a page, RIYLYLT, recommended if you like Yo La Tengo. And I wanted to mention Dump. And Cameron, were you the one, skinny mother?
Oh, that skinny motherfucker with the high pitched voice.
Yeah, did you tell me about that?
Maybe.
I think you
It's-
did. Maybe.
It is something I have.
And I think maybe I'd heard of it, but I remember you telling me about it in Japan and then finding it at, you know, those records. They always had such a big catalog of stuff there. I think I found it at HMV or something. And yeah, that's great. But there are, I think Grown Ass Man is another Dump album I have that's really good. This skinny motherfucker with the high voice is James McNew as Dump doing all Prince covers. It's really good. So Dump is something all our viewers should actively seek out and listen to. Now I found it in Big Day Coming. Cameron, you also mentioned My Little Corner of the World. Can we move on to? I think this will be the last track we highlight for the night or morning. And I guess this was a hit with Anita Bryant in My Little Corner of the World. Pardon my dog. But here, chapter 12 of the book says in 1994 on tour in Tampa, Ira had been in a thrift shop going through records. There was a huge stack, and I kept pulling but one thing after another that looked promising. It was an untapped store. One record was called My Little Corner of the World by this guy, Richie Van. It was really captivating, a weird fake lounge record with real applause after studio recordings performed with a drum machine. He does Joy to the World, which is way off timing-wise. It's a very odd record in that try to read the mind of the musician way. The last song on the record was My Little Corner of the World. We listened to it a lot and assumed he wrote it. We'd never heard it before. It was a signed record even. The record became a talisman for the band even before the song made it into their repertoire. Oh, yeah, and yes, on Electro Pura, The Hour Grows Late. At the beginning, I want to send this out to Richie Van and his thrift store corner of the world.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So let's hear it. And this was a song, from a personal note, it was on the list when my wife and I were planning our wedding. This was one of the songs I thought we could maybe have our first dance to. But we didn't, it didn't meet approval, I guess. Right? We went with California Stars by Billy Bragg and Wilco. Which
That's a nice track.
yeah, written by Woody Guthrie. But always love this song. Here we go.
Come on with me to my little corner of the world. Tonight, my love, we'll share a sweet embrace. And if you care to stay in my little corner of the world, we could hide away in my little corner of the world. I always knew that I'd find someone like you. So welcome to my little corner of the world. And if you care to stay in our little corner of the world, we could hide away in our little corner of the world. We always knew that we'd find someone like you. So welcome to our little corner of the world.
Yeah, I haven't heard that. I don't in a while. I don't know if I listened to that as much walking the dog. And yeah, what a wonderful little song.
Perfect ending.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, they always choose great covers, really interesting songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd kind of say that Yola Tengo are, I mean, they're a great band, but quite possibly the best covers band in the world.
Sure. I mean, Little Honda on here is awesome, right? I mean,
Oh, and we just lost. Where did it go? How did I do that?
but
Yeah. Let's see. Escape.
And yeah, and when usually, when they play live, there'll be one or two covers that they'll do. Yeah, and their choices are always interesting.
yeah,
They're always good.
yeah. Greg, I remember when we saw them in Tokyo, they did a cover of Jackson Brown's "Somebody's Babe," like that song. That's not the name of it. What's the name of the song?
Somebody's baby.
Somebody's Baby.
Yeah.
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 I mean, that's from Fast Times at Ridgemont
Yeah.
High. I mean, that totally has a place in my heart. So for them to play that song, I was like, wow, awesome.
Well, that's on. That's on Genius Plus Love Equals Yola Tango.
Okay. Mhm.
That compilation, which was my introduction to them, and which the live version of the Speedy Motorcycle, the
Okay.
over the phone Daniel.
Okay.
is
Yeah,
on.
now that you mention it, yeah, I guess I have heard
But
the
still,
recording
that's. I mean,
too, but yeah.
it's still. I see what you mean. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure when they released that, people were surprised. And, yeah, I think they. I don't like to mix things up and don't want to get pigeonholed stylistically or with their references, influences. Oh, well, Dave, how about I remember when you saw them when you were home at Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
I think was a time you were supposed to come to Buffalo. We were going to go to Niagara Falls in the snowstorm.
Yeah.
But you saw them at the Beach Room Ballroom,
Yeah.
right?
So this was just after Christmas 2001. And yeah, I think you were planning to come to this too, Greg. And yeah, you were snowed in Buffalo. Yeah. So I think our elaborate plans, and it was the first time my wife had come to America with me, right, to visit my hometown. And yeah, we had these elaborate plans to go to Niagara Falls together, right? And then a couple days later, I think you were going to come to Cleveland to see Yola Tango, right? But the snow just shut everything down.
Yeah.
And so you couldn't come, but yeah.
Yeah, it was an interesting day because in the afternoon we went to see the Harlem Globetrotters, and then in the evening we saw Yola Tango, and yeah, there was a guy from the 70s and 80s, from my hometown who was supposed to, all of Cleveland, Ohio was hoping this guy was going to be like the next Tom Petty or John Cougar, or, Mellencamp or something. This guy named Michael Stanley, the Michael Stanley Band. But I've never heard anyone mention him outside of Cleveland ever. Like he's only famous in Cleveland, right? But when Yola Tango came, yeah, he made a big, he gave this whole big spiel about how much he was interested in the musical history of the city and blah blah blah. The whole time I thought he was going to lead into like a Para Ubu song, right? But he's like all the way here in the van. The only question was which Michael Stanley Band song to play. And everyone was just so shocked that he would know who Michael Stanley was. And yeah, he dusted off an old MSB song, and it sounded awesome. It sounded great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think that points to like students of the art form, dig deep, maybe an encyclopedic knowledge of what has come before, but also I think they're populists at heart, wanting to please the crowd, have, I don't know, does this sound corny, but, not like.
That it is something that you can fall into for that period of time. Also, because it skips across so many styles, again, you need that length, I think. If it was only 8 tracks, you could skip across a number of styles in 8 tracks. But I mean, nonetheless, the fact that it's kind of, as substantial as it is means that they cover so much ground. But the thing that I love is even though they do that, there is still this unifying warmth to the whole thing. So I think it works really well as a single package.
Yeah, I concur. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah. It allows them to delve into those different styles, different off ramps, tangents that they need to get into, and also because of the different areas they explore, it doesn't seem repetitious, or it doesn't get tiresome for me. So, yeah.
How about you, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. And really, when you think about it, an hour and 8 minutes, that's not excessively long. You know? I mean, not really, right? I mean, maybe it's 10 or 15 minutes longer than other albums. So I could deal with that. That's fine. It's still significantly shorter than most movies. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm good. I'm good with the length. Yeah. Yeah. And people who are not familiar with Yola Tango, I think it's a great entry point for anyone, right?
Yeah, it was my first.
Because you have these, I mean, just these great little pop songs, throughout it, popping up here and there, that even if stuff like Green Arrow or Spec Bebop, even if those don't catch you right away, you gotta, you could just kind of the little the poppy songs could kind of power you through to an appreciation of the whole album, right? So
there's plenty of hooks.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Is it their best album?
I'm gonna say yes, but I'm also gonna say that I'm not an authority on all of their albums. But from my point of view, yes.
I tend to think so too. And I should, well, um, one I always liked, and I think it's grown on me too. I appreciate more with the passing years is Summer Sun. Um, but it's more of it's not as eclectic as this. Yeah, I'm not afraid of you, and I'm not afraid of you, and I will beat your ass. That's a really strong album too. Um, but I think this is their best. What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, this comes during like a run of particularly strong, for me, particularly strong albums. I mean, you've got Painful, Electra Pura, and then this. Um, uh, yeah, I mean, it's a bit like kind of asking you to pick a favorite child, but there is something about I Can Hear the Heart Beating as one that I just keep going back to. I love it. I think for me, it's my favorite of their albums.
Yeah, yeah, and Electro Pura and that's an excellent album as well. But yeah, I concur. And before we started, we thought we should talk about the fake Matador catalog of bands that's on the inner sleeve. Is there anyone in particular you want to highlight, Cameron, before we go?
Oh, I think they're all great, but probably my favorite is Unsanitary Napkins.
Kirsten, Unsanitary Napkins, ST. It was Kirsten, Nora, and Holly, Calgary's own Riot Squad, in their furious debut EP, Doable, Monostat 7, and a retooling of the new wave classic 52 Girls,
Yeah.
3 R's. So a poke at the Riot Girl.
The Riot Girl, yeah.
Movement. And 52 Girls is a song by the B-52s. And Ted Richardson, who's a friend and band member from my days in Japan, he turned me on to that. That's a great song, 52 Girls, by the B-52s. So yeah, they got all sorts of cool little references in there. Yeah. All right, Dave, any
the album right after this was great too. Do we mention? And then Nothing Turns Itself Inside Out. That's also great. Yeah.
Yep.
And when I was that Green Arrow, listening to Green Arrow the other night, I think that really kind of set the stage for that album. I think. What was the song that mentions Tony Danza? Or not Tony Danza, Tony
Orlando.
Tony Orlando, yeah.
You Could Have It All or something?
You Could Have It All. Yeah, that's a great pop song. But there's a real long As Night Falls on Hoboken is like a sprawling ambient epic where roots out from Green Arrow. But yeah, that's a really good record. Yeah, you can't miss with Yo La Tengo. Maybe start with this, but whatever you think. All right, guys. Well, hey, Dave, thanks for sending this whole thing up. Cameron, thank you for agreeing. Thank you both for discussion, insights. And that's a wrap.
All right.